Hello there, Surf17 once again. This is my God Hand hard mode fun run, and this is 7-2, the Great Pyramid, right? This took forever. This is, on paper, this should not be difficult. It is 4 waves of enemies. The first 2 waves are 3 enemies. The third wave is a group, I believe, of 5. And then the final wave is a samurai guy, who you're going to see one of the most cowardly performances in the history of God Hand, because at that point, I just didn't want to get hit. And there are 2 areas of this game, outside of Seriously We Want the God Hand, and the original area against Gold and Silver, where it's going to essentially introduce you to the difficulty spikes that God Hand can give you, and will continue to give you regardless of how good you get at it. And this is one of those areas. The first, of course, is Death Shudder. Death Shudder is the hardest part of the game. If you can take on 8 or 9 elites at the same time, you know what you're doing, right? And then the Pyramid is essentially the practice run for Death Shudder, because this is, you know, it's not quite Whippet proportions, because Whippet's another one of those areas that can be very difficult for lack of a checkpoint. But the area that makes this tough is you have to do all of these fights in a row. Personally, I don't think if each one of these fights were checkpointed, it would make this any less difficult, because this is bloody God Hand. This game doesn't give a shit about you, it will destroy you. But even if the checkpoint was too deep and then you had to do 3, or all the way from the first 2 waves to the 3rd wave and then the 4th or whatever, like, you place a checkpoint anywhere in this fight and you still have a really, really tough fight. But guess what? God Hand doesn't care what you think. It wants you to prove that you have the metal to get to the next sequence. And to do that, you are in this very large room with lots of resources and a lot of weapons at your disposal. So those are the 2 big pieces of advice I can give to a new player if you're coming to this. The weapons in this room can be used very well to get rid of a lot of problems, and the items, if you get the right RNG, can give you a lot of cool things. This particular run, I had some really, really good drops, so it gave me a lot of flexibility and a lot of creativity with stuff to use, and then in the end I didn't really use anything that creatively at all. Some of the moves I had planned for this particular part of the game when I first started this project, I didn't even have on this file, so that was a bit frustrating. But the knife thrower here, guys, this is the real problem. I don't mind anything in these waves at all. I can deal with women sitting on my face. I can deal with getting smacked by a hammer from off screen. What I cannot do is deal with him. That guy there throwing knives off screen from a distance, and then when you get close to him he runs away, and then he does a whole host of interesting moves, including a heel drop which will hit you if you up dodge. He's the guy that needs to go. And then the second one is her, because that charge move that she does, that she spams at long range, it can hit you mid. So if you up dodge it, you have to up dodge it like a god to not get hit by that. It's one of those moves that, depending on how you low profile, it will depend on whether or not you get hit. And it's ever so slow enough that you can't quite always get your counter hit on it unless you're really practiced. And because my computer was killed my hard drive and I didn't play this game for like a year, I'm not as sharp as I was, you know, so I've had to re-de-rust on all things God Hand. But it's always a pleasure because the game is amazing. This game is like almost nothing else, because it's incredibly difficult, but when it's being difficult, you always feel like there was something you could have done. And that's a level of challenge you just don't see in many games this hard. And if you don't think God Hand is hard, you're obviously a god at it, or you're not doing the things that makes it difficult, right? Because God Hand is a game that can be cheesed mercilessly. You know it, I know it. All you have to do is use the right tools to make it easier. And this is one of them right here. I get a heat card, I immediately go into the God Hand, knock them into the sky for the uppercut, try and get... Watch the HP of the woman and the dude here. See the chunks I'm taking off the dude, and the chunks I'm not taking off the woman? Those female elites, those... For some reason, they have way more HP than the elite who throws his mohawk. And it's unfortunate because I really, really like the black Amazon elite, or whatever you want to call her, but I don't like the white one. The black one, when she runs towards you, she's very predictable. She has this very fast attack that if you charge any move, If you start something like a charge fist, or whatever it is you like to launch people with, even a high side kick, whatever she opens with when she chases you down, you will usually counter hit it. And you'll counter hit it at a perfect sweet spot so that you can always have a good shot at her. And she's one of the most beneficial enemies in the Death Shudder for getting launches, because she's so consistent with what she does. The white one always does that awkwardly timed dashing move which can hit you even when you up dodge, so she's a problem. But this one can be your best friend for counter hits. And unfortunately right now, as much as I'd like to show you counter hitting in between these combos she's doing, I'm going to be using the sweep for safety. But something that you don't see enough people doing in God Hand, and I don't do it enough because I'm always looking to get launches, whenever enemies are doing attacks and leaving gaps and you can get an up dodge and do something, throw a jab out. One of the best ways to counter an enemy in this game is to up dodge the first hit of their combo and immediately jab through what they're doing. Not all moves will allow you to do this because some of them will frame trap you, but fundamentally, as long as you know the gaps and you know when to press it and you dodge correctly, you can interrupt with a standard hit, go into a full combo, get a dizzy, do a pummel or a suplex and build your God Hand meter, and it's really effective. And then from there you can mess around with juggles. It doesn't always have to be a charge fist or some fancy move to launch them or knock them away. It can be just simple bread and butters that are easy to forget. But there goes the samurai guy. And that is one of the hardest levels in God Hand. So thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're enjoying the project. I'm going to run around now and loot as best as I can. I'm probably not going to pick up any of the weapons because I don't really need to, right? You can't take them with you. And then we can get ready for the great sensei, who's going to give me one of the worst patterns I've ever seen from him. So I'm going to give him a surprise. Thank you for watching. You take care now.